So first, I guess I can't see everyone in the audience, but welcome and thank you for coming here to the Yale Entrepreneurs Forum. We're going to present pretty briefly just sort of the tactical, sort of how do you deal with the press and why do you deal with the press. As I said, I've been a reporter for about 4 or 5 years now, class of '08, and Steffi's been in PR also since graduation, class of '07. So why don't we just basically get started with the really basic question is, why in the world do you want to be listening to us, and why in the world do you want to talk to the press? Because this is maybe not as obvious a question as perhaps I think it is.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Steffi. I'll start with why talk to the press. So why would someone who's working at a startup, or why do we need PR? And I would say that PR is primarily about storytelling. I think that you see a lot of people say, I'm a storyteller. And what that means in the PR context is really sharing your company's story with reporters. And so building credibility and trust, showing how your product or service is innovative, different, and really showing instead of telling, which is, usually when you pay for advertisements or something like that, paid media, you're basically just telling people what you want them to hear. Whereas media is really back and forth, as you'll see later on.
So yeah, I guess the other question then is, so once you've been convinced that you should talk to the press, which is how, and I think it's interesting how many people I see do this absolutely terribly. The answer is that there isn't really a secret for how to get the kind of press coverage that you want. I'm sort of pitching this mostly to assuming people here are running kind of smaller companies, that you're not the PR for Google or Facebook, which is when you pitch a journalist, you don't actually want to pitch a journalist on who you are or what you're making. You want to pitch a journalist on the idea that you can say something that's really interesting and important and relevant to the audience of that newspaper or blog or TV show or whatever. And I think, it's, so how do you get to those conversations, which is you treat journalists as if they're human and you're human, and you both talk in normal kind of English register that's not corporate jargon or incredibly technical language, and you just sort of email people with a, hi, I'm really interesting and I'm relevant to you, and I should buy you a coffee, and you should buy me a coffee, and this will make both of our conversations, quite pleasant. And I know it sounds really obvious, but, remember also journalists all want different things.